Good morning. Buenos dias. Welcome to the first Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio. My name is Mary Barad, and I've been a member of the church for 7 years. I enjoy participating in my Chalice circle or covenant group and the Sunday morning UU reading group. I currently serve as co-chair of Racial Justice Black Lives Matter here and co-chair of the Social Justice Committee as well. Let us begin by recognizing the early name of this place, Yanaguana, the traditional lands of the Coahuiltecan people. They and all the plants and animals were the original stewards of this land. Let us remember their care and live with the understanding that we belong to this place. It's a busy place, and we stay very active in our efforts to build the beloved community within and beyond our walls. We send out emails 3 times a week to keep folks in the loop of what's going on. If you'd like to receive those emails, visit our website, uusat.org, and complete the visitor form. I also want to mention that due to illness, UU 101 is canceled today, and next month we'll return on schedule. If you are new to us or visiting for the first time today, we welcome you and invite you to fill out a visitor's card, either on paper or online. We'd like to get to know you and follow up with you wherever you are on your life's journey. Your place, we hope you will find your place is with us. Now, you might be here for the first time, or the 5th time, or the 500th time. But there's a chance you don't yet know those people sitting around you. So please take a moment to turn to your left and right and introduce yourself. If you have come weary or afraid, welcome. If you have come with an empty cup, welcome. If you have come disheartened or disconnected, welcome. For here we will gather and extend an invitation to simply be who you are. And here, our aim is to inspire and refresh your spirit
And here we will all be involved in creating the beloved community. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Si vienes cansado y temeroso, bienvenido. Si vienes sin nada, bienvenida. Si vienes desanimado y desconectado, bienvenido. Aquí extendemos una invitación para si es simplemente quién eres. Aquí nos reunimos para inspirar y renovar tu espíritu. Y aquí todos estamos involucrados en crear una comunidad amorosa. Bienvenidos. Now let us join together in our first hymn. I gotta say, y'all are brave, and it's just so cute to see y'all bundled up. We're all puffed up like sparrows out here this morning. Let's warm by lifting up our energy and sing together from our great hymnal, number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Rise in body or spirit as you are so moved. May this flame cast its light toward better days, reminding us that the future is not simply a place we are going, but a place we are creating. The path of new possibilities will not be found, but made. The justice we long for does not sit at the end of that inevitable arc. It lies in the bending. That is ours to do. A new world is waiting to be built, friends. May our time together light the way.
Good morning. Buenos dias. We are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all are welcome as blessings. Let's recite together our covenant that articulates our promises and binds us together. Please read together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. El amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia. Su sacramento es la búsqueda de la verdad y su oración es el servicio.
convivir en paz, buscar sabiduría en libertad, dar a la humanidad nuestro servicio fraternal para que todas las almas crezcan en armonía con la divinidad. Así pactamos el uno con el otro.
Oh, my beloveds, it is winter, and the light of each day comes to us at a slant, indirect, and barely warm upon our faces. The days are still short, and the chill of the night lingers long into the morning. This is a time when the ground is slowly dreaming of wildflowers, and the stir to migrate is quietly rising in the purple martin scouts. So in this time of slant and quiet, I will ask you, how is your heart? Perhaps it has found joy in the crisp winter's light. Perhaps it holds a quiet rising of sadness as you chart a path through each day. Or perhaps your heart is simply in the muddy puddle of the everyday, with only this moment to rest and watch the silt briefly settle. However your heart is, you have brought it here, and where the fullness of your life may be held gently. At this time, I invite you to come forward and light a candle of joy or sorrow, or simply to illuminate the mud, with the hope that these flames will call our hearts back to love.
For all these candles lit, and for the candles lit only in our hearts, we give thanks. And reading from our book of Joys and Sorrows, the continuation of the Buddy saga, his old owners gave him back to us. We're so happy. And welcome to our visitors from the Corpus Christi UU Church. It's so good to have you here. Yay! And I also want to welcome everybody who's online because they decided that it was safer or better or wiser to stay home this morning. So I'm glad you're with us. And my joy is that yesterday your board did the most amazing work. They were here from 8:30 in the morning to almost 4:30 in the afternoon, and they just did such beautiful things. It's going to result in some cool, cool things around here. So if you see a board member, yeah. They are people of deep courage and deep love. And now, let us take a moment to follow our breath into those places that we might have rushed over all week. With each breath, I invite you to go deeper and find that part of your own center that needs attention. Breathing in and breathing out. For too many of us, it is still night. We are still dividing the universe into categories to fit into our brains. We are still dividing our lives to fit into systems of oppression. We are still dividing our hearts to accommodate old prejudices. For too many of us, the dawn is still a dream, but it is a dream worth having, even and especially in the darkness. For it is a dream of dancing, of weeping, and of laughter. And it is a dream that takes all of us breathing together. Breathing in, breathing out. Blessed be. Amen. Ashe. All right. I have a story for the children, and if the children, if the children want to come forward, you can come and we'll listen together. We'll tell the story together, okay? And if you want, you can just stay where you are to listen, but the courageous ones will be up here. Okay. Ooh. There you are. Hi. Welcome. Good to see you. Hey. Okay. Does anybody get a little nervous at night in the dark? Yeah, a little bit. Because, we have our senses, and in the dark, we can still smell, and we can still touch, and we can still hear, and we can all that, but we can't see real well, and we're a very visual species, so that's what happens. Yes? Well, that's okay. We're here together. Okay. I like that. That's a good strategy. Night lights help. So some of our neighbors, in their religion, they have special prayers for the prayers that you say at nighttime and prayers you say in the daytime. And that's probably what some students were thinking about, because the students were there with their teacher, their rabbi. And the rabbi asked them, how do you know when the night ends and the day begins? Well, these were very clever students, and so one of them immediately said, oh, I can tell, because night doesn't just end and days start like turning on a light switch. It's gradual. And so how do you know when one is over and the other's? And so this first student said, oh, I know, because when I can look out and see that field is my neighbor's field and that field is my field. And the rabbi said, And another student was very, very bright and said, well, I know that the night has ended and the day has begun when I can look out and see that that large animal out there is a cow or a horse. And the rabbi said, And another student said, well, I know that the night has ended and the day has begun when I can look at all the wildflowers and see which ones are purple and which ones are yellow and which ones are red. And the rabbi said, Oy. The rabbi shook their head and said, no, see, you are all busy dividing things. You're already busy putting things separate and breaking things apart. And isn't this world filled enough with brokenness? Why are you so busy separating things again? The students were really confused. The rabbi said, the night has ended and the day begins when you can tell that the person next to you is part of your family. What? And until you can tell that, until you can see that the person next to you is part of your family, it will always be night for you. And the students had to wonder about that. But the rabbi went and got some tea. So if you were one of those students and you were wondering, what do you think the rabbi was talking about? What do you think?
I think
The rabbi? Okay, when is it day? When is it night? What do you think they meant when they said, when you can turn and look at the person next to you and see that they're part of your family? You think they were just talking about your parents and your siblings?
No, I think they're talking about nighttime.
That is very practical.
Helps your body to go sleep.
I think you're right. At nighttime, you should be sleeping anyhow. Okay. I think the students had to think about that one for a while, and it's okay if you want to think about that one, but one of the things I know is it's hard. It's really hard to look at somebody who you don't know their name, and they might look different and they might talk different, but you have to be able to think, somehow that person is part of my family, right? Somehow that person is part of my family so much that I have to think of them as part of me. And maybe if I can figure out how to do that, I'll have more days of light. Okay, darling ones, it's chilly out there. So instead of playing on the playground, we're going to invite our wiggly ones, the ones who want to play, to go with Ms. Bridget down to Building 5 and play indoors this morning instead of on the playground. And our children are also welcome to stay here with their families and their friends. So you can decide, but we will sing you to your next work. May the road travel you safely. May your friend be always at your side. May the Lord guide you.
I love that song. I hope they hear it. So if our awardees this morning would like to come forward to the dais and have a seat as we introduce you, you can stand and have your picture made. So please come forward. Yes. We have plenty of chairs. So So by word, welcome. We're delighted to have you. By way of explanation, each year on the Sunday before Martin Luther King Day, or sometimes right on Martin Luther King Day, the Social Justice Committee of our congregation presents the Courageous Love Awards. And this is to several individuals or organizations from our larger community. These awards recognize individuals and organizations that have shown courage and touched hearts in ways that resonate with Unitarian Universalist values. This is our 10th year of presenting these awards, and we honor such heroes in our community. This year we have 2 awardees. One is for an organization and one is for an individual. But before I tell you about the first awardee, I want to tell you about the cake and punch reception right after the service. There's a lot of cake, and I know what will happen if I have to take that home. I will just have a difficulty not listening to it all day. So I hope you come and help us finish up the cake, meet our awardees, and enjoy. As co-chair of the Social Justice Committee, I'm delighted to be able to present the first of our 2 Courageous Love Awards today to the League of Women Voters of the San Antonio area. Woo-hoo! This wonderful organization's president, the wonderful Madhu Sridhar, is here to accept the award. You'd like to stand up? And to introduce you to this organization, the League of Women Voters is all about empowering voters and defending democracy. And you don't have to be a women voter or non-voter to be part of it, to be a member. People of all genders are welcome. The League's outstanding work includes voter engagement and education, voter registration, of course, that's what we have a big campaign on now, and getting out the vote. And as a member and volunteer for the League, I can attest to how the League values and protects its credibility, and that's due to its strictly nonpartisan approach. If you couple that with the excellence of their work, and you'll see some of the materials at the reception, that's really where why people trust them. 2024 is a year of incredibly important elections for San Antonio, for Texas, and for our whole country. With all the division and political tensions in recent years, the quiet, consistent, reliable, and respectful work of the League is more important than ever. The League and its volunteers work diligently in political headwinds and also, I have to testify, in actual meteorological winds. This courageous work that reflects love for people, community, and justice, and that's what the League is about. So please let me present Madhu Sridhar.
Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. It's actually good morning. I want to thank the church and thank the Social Justice Committee for selecting the League of Men Voters of San Antonio to receive this award. It's a great honor. And I accept this award on behalf of the League of Men Voters of San Antonio. You know, every election is important, but this election the stakes are much higher. The confidence in democracy remains low. The partisan divide is much deeper and more widespread. finding reliable and accurate information is at a premium. So, you know, the League of Women Voters has a very important role to play. Since 1920, our job has been, and we have taken this responsibility very seriously, is to make all the voters, to help them make informed choices. And I just want to take 30 seconds to let you know that it is extremely important, especially in the primaries, because the voter turnout for primaries is much less, you know, than the voter turnout in general election. It's extremely important that you vote at the primaries also. The deadline for voter registration is February 5th. So please, if you are not registered to vote and you want to vote in the primary, make sure you go and register to vote by February 5th. And also, if you feel that the reason you don't vote is because you don't have enough information, we put together a voter's guide which contains responses to questions that we ask the candidates, and they all respond to those questions. You can pick up the voter's guide at public libraries. You can read about the candidates and their responses on major public policy issues that we think are, you know, on the minds of the voters. Make a decision based on the responses, which candidate aligns and suits your kind of thinking the best, and try to make sure that you go and vote. Because, you know, you cannot put democracy on autopilot. You know, each one of us have to participate in order to make democracy work. As President Harry Truman said, that it is not the hand that signs the law that holds the destiny of America. It is the hand that casts the ballot. So I want to be very sure you all take the time to learn about the candidates and make informed choices and go and vote. Thank you very much. And thank you for the
Good morning. I'm Diane Dustraft. I'm a member of the Social Justice Committee, and I've known Reverend Ann Helmke for more than 20 years. However, it was another member of the Social Justice Committee who nominated Reverend Ann for the Courageous Love Award. Ann Helmke has been involved with peacemaking and compassion initiatives in San Antonio for more than 30 years. Reverend Ann Helmke is an ordained Lutheran ELCA minister and has served as the faith liaison for the city of San Antonio for the past 7 years. Her specific role is to intentionally form community and connective collaboratives between the community of faith, government agencies, nonprofits, and community groups to meet the needs of the most vulnerable. She and several peace collaborators had a major impact on curbing gang violence in San Antonio 30 years ago. Out of that work, the all-volunteer and interfaith San Antonio Peace Center was born. This was where I first encountered Reverend Ann. She went on to serve as the Director of Spiritual Services at Haven for Hope for 7 years. After that, she became the first faith liaison for the city of San Antonio. In her current role, coordination and ideation of Compassionate San Antonio falls under her area of responsibility, and she has co-imagined Compassionate USA with San Antonio's mayor, Ron Nirenberg. In January 2023, Reverend Ann was named a San Antonio Peace Laureate, and in 2022, she received an honorary doctorate from Oblate School of Theology. Because of Reverend Ann's creative vision and continual work in building compassion and peace in our community and throughout the world, First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio bestows the Courageous Love Award on Reverend Ann Helmke. Unfortunately, Reverend Ann could not be with us in person today, so Jan Olson is here to accept the award on Reverend Ann's behalf.
Good morning. I am so honored to be here to accept this award on Ann's behalf. It's very humbling to stand here instead of Ann. I've had the honor of being part of the core team of the San Antonio Peace Center for, I guess, about 8 years now with Ann. And she sent me, of course, Ann sent me some words to say this morning, okay? So I'm gonna do my best to channel Ann, okay? So if you know Ann, you know she loves words. 2 of her favorite words are enthusiasm and courage. Courage, its root words are core, for heart. Ager, to act from the heart. Like the League of Women Voters, acting from their hearts for democracy. I did mention I'm a very committed member of the League of Women Voters, so I'm thrilled about both of these awards. And the second word is enthusiasm, theos, same root as theology. So enthusiasm means in Godness. So what an honor for all of us here today to be about this extraordinary work driven by passion and compassion towards a more just and peaceful world. So Ann's work has been about the compassionate work that is happening all over San Antonio on behalf of all of us, plus the work of the League of Women Voters, plus the work of the Unitarian Universalists. In fact, if I were Ann, I know what she would be doing right at this moment, okay? She would be asking each and every one of us to name out loud the extraordinary work driven by passion and compassion towards a more just and peaceful world. So could you do that with me? Could you do that for Ann? Okay. And okay. Perfect. Okay, I know I don't have all the time in the world. I would just add, I mean, at this moment, there are volunteers at the Greyhound bus station downtown and at the airport who are in this cold, providing warm clothes and services to the asylum seekers and refugees who are passing through our city. So I just want to, and all the volunteers at the MRC, so I just want to acknowledge that work. So on Ann's and my behalf, thank you for your acting from your own heart's courageous love. And thank you for honoring Ann's courageous love in our city. And it is humbling to be standing here in our enthusiasm. Thank you so much.
First UU is supported entirely through the generosity of its members and friends. Your gifts bring this congregation together and help make it possible for us to take a stand for justice, love, and peace. Those of us in the sanctuary, please contribute in the baskets. For those of you viewing online, we invite you to donate from our website. Would the offertory ushers please come forward?
It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you to Susan Dill for inviting me, Reverend Nell. I like to say that I wrote a poem for this event, but I wrote it in 1997, in which I would like to share with you. I have adapted it for today. It was written after a conversation I had with my father, who is no longer with us today. And it was in a ring connected with another MLK service that I was playing. So if you would indulge me, I'd love to play it and read the poem for you. After which I will play one of Dr. King's favorite pieces, apparently, is Amazing Grace. And it is a reimagining of one of my violin mentors, Diane Monroe, who added a little gospel touch to it. Daybreak of Freedom. As we celebrate Daybreak of Freedom in honor of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I also celebrate my father. Not long ago, I called my parents and I spoke to them about this opportunity to pay tribute to Reverend Dr. King. It was then that my father told me he was there. While attending college, my father was there when Reverend Dr. King called for a boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. My father rode that same bus that was repeatedly late, that same bus that would stop in the middle of nowhere and the driver asked the passengers to get off the bus. That same bus that would make lunch stops en route to soothe the bus driver's hunger pains while the passengers waited. That same bus that would drive off after you just paid your fare. That same bus that forced you to pay your fare from the rear of the bus. The very same bus Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called a boycott for in Montgomery, Alabama on December 5th, 1955. That which made a dramatic change in my father's life and in the revolution against civil injustice. I come before you gratefully in honor of that memory. I perform not only for Reverend Dr. King, but for the legacy born of his ideas, given to me as a gift from the peoples of every nation. As I play for you, please join me as I lift up the music of John Newton, the former slave ship captain, then restored minister. Let us remember the text of Amazing Grace, Newton's own recognition of freedom. This day and forevermore, may we celebrate our own daybreak of freedom.
Thank you, Dr. Nicole Cherry. We bless these gifts and we bless the givers. May it be so.
All right, I got to warn you, not warn you, let me just apologize in advance for all of our guests and visitors. I'm going to be talking a little bit of some inside baseball here, but hopefully there'll be still some things of value to my words. Okay. I want to start with a poem by Stephen Levine, If Prayer Would Do It. If prayer would do it, I'd pray. If reading esteemed thinkers would do it, I'd be halfway through the patriarchs. If discourse would do it, I'd be sitting with His Holiness every moment he was free. If contemplation would do it, I'd have translated the periodic table to hermit poems, converting matter to spirit. If even fighting would do it, I'd already be a black belt. If anything other than love could do it, I'd have done it already and left the hardest for last. The words of Stephen Levine. Right now, our Unitarian Universalist Association is in the midst of a multi-year process of re-examining the purpose and principles of our movement. And in typical fashion, mandated, we are doing this by examining our bylaws. Really. A faith community that has to get its bylaws just right. The 7 principles that we have held onto and held up for the last 40 years, they're no longer shiny, and we've all grown a bit since they first were written, and so we are going back to find our shared values and considering what is it that holds us all together. And a group have worked, a lovely collection of values emerged from many discussions, and naturally some of the values from the 7 principles were still there, but something new showed up. Love kept showing up over and over, and remember, that's not in any of the 7 principles. It was mentioned down briefly in the 6 sources, but and love was in the original Article 2 from 1961 when the UUA was first formed. It was included in one of the original 6 principles, and I quote, "To cherish and spread the universal truths taught by the great prophets and teachers of humanity in every age and tradition, immemorially summarized in their essence as love to God and love to man. That same sentiment managed to hang on as long as 1974, but by 1985, when we voted in the 7 principles, we seemed to be all done with love. Perhaps the word got tossed out with its theistic and gendered other language neighbors. But now here we are halfway through this discernment, this evaluation, this wordsmithing contemplation process, and love seems to actually be very important to us. So important that the commission who's doing this work envisioned love at the center of all of our shared values. They even created a beautiful image. I meant to put in a slide. Maybe if you have an order of service, you can see it's a beautiful image that illustrates the idea. It looks kind of like a flower if you use your imagination. Love at the center. Now, naturally, some people have kind of bristled at this. They complain that love as a value, it's kind of mawkish, kind of sentimental, a little wishy-washy, too vague. But others of us are leaning in, and we're really considering what might happen if we truly put love at the center of our movement. I'm reminded of the words of Reverend Otis Moss III in his book, Dancing in the Darkness. In it, he shows how love is essential to justice, and justice is essential to love. Here's what he writes: "The danger of love without justice is that it becomes sentimental, even appeasing, like the sentiment of a battered spouse who returns to the abuser out of love. Love without justice has no lasting action. It brings no change. But justice without love becomes ruthless, an eye for an eye. Justice without love destroys." This is how Reverend Moss points our way forward. Now, what is this for us? Will it just be part of a pretty flower, or will it serve to tether us to something so essential that we cannot progress without keeping it in front of us at all times? Personally, I appreciate the challenge of placing love at the center because it causes me to do the work. And really, to be a Unitarian Universalist is to sign up for a whole lot of work. This is not an easy way of being religious, because each person is expected to regularly examine their relations in this world and consider how they might do better. Again and again, not because of a creed or a commandment handed down, but because this is our process. This is how we do it. And perhaps we are bringing back love, not buried down in the midst of other words, but centered right where we cannot ignore it. Because, like the poet observed, we've tried everything else, and we left the hardest for last, and this is the only thing that works. Now, let me step aside from the flowers for just a moment. Right now, we are all constantly aware of crisis, near and far, and some of us are in the midst of our own crisis, and all of us have been scarred by crisis. It's part of being human. And in the midst of crisis, we all fall back to the basic work of just surviving. And there is nothing sentimental or wishy-washy about survival. And in crisis, it becomes less important to consider how well we might love one another, especially a person we don't know, whose name is unknown, whose language or concerns are unknown. When crisis erupts, we strip off the niceties of love and focus on just keeping the body alive, which makes sense. But it's a very hard way to keep living. And it's not how we evolved. to live. We evolved to thrive in community. So please be so very wary of anyone who tells you that the goal is to survive without concern of others. Be especially aware of the fascist techniques that tell you to be afraid of your neighbor, to be afraid of the world, and that love is weak and weakness is to be reviled. That is just what fascists do. Bless their hearts. Back to the flowers, back to the garden. I am in the habit of simply living as if there is a sacred beauty in this world, as if I belong to this world, as if my work is to keep showing up and saying yes with each breath. It's just a thing I do. And because I have this habit, I'm going to try living as if love is at the center of my being in this world. Living this way will give me the chance to notice if placing love at the center changes anything. Honestly, I'm afraid that it might cause my heart to break over and over. But that seems to be happening anyway, so at least now I'll know why. So what might happen if you put love at the center, what might shift or loosen or come into sharp focus? What might you need to let go of or hold more closely? Can you see, perhaps, how love has already pushed you and pulled you forward to this moment? So that I ask, who loved you here? You will be able to answer. And perhaps with time, if you live as if love is at the center, perhaps with time you might find that love has placed you at its center as well. May it be so, blessed be. Amen. Let us lift up our spirits and our voices singing together our hymn number 181? 151. I wish I knew how.
All the things I could say.
cantar contigo, cantar contigo, cantar contigo es mi oración. Go in peace, blessed be.